Hello, dear colleagues. Dear friends.
Before I start my presentation, please, little bit, instead of cup of coffee, applause again. I like this video. This is a really interesting stuff. But before I start my presentation, I just want to ask you the one question. Did you play in the game? Raise your hand who play in the Watch Dogs. Wow. It's most relevant and motivated audience. If you don't know what is that, if you don't play, if you have known any PlayStation, Xbox, or PC, if you're a grandmother or grandfather, this is a game when you're a hero with the main super ability. You can hack anything. You can just tap hack button on your phone and steal his data from his phone. You just can tap hack button on your phone and you can turn the traffic lights. You just can tap hack button and the ATM will withdraw the cash from the ATM machine. This is a terrible game because it's not realistic, right? The terrible game. But anyway, the main conception that was planted by developers of the game is a perfect illustration of current situation with IoT devices. My name is Denis Makrushin, and I'm a security researcher, global research analysis team at Kaspersky. Currently, I'm head of blue team in the large organization. I'm just a security researcher still. And I try to show you how our smart cities, smart things, IoT, smart cars, smart hospitals become stupid. And this is the message, from my opinion, the message is a perfect illustration of current situation with IoT. The short version of the message is something like that. Guys, the CVE, you know, of course, what is the CVE? It's a huge database of vulnerabilities. The short message is something like, guys, security researchers, please, stop to send us a lot of requests about vulnerabilities in IoT. We have any resources to proceed all of your requests. So we can imagine that we are living in the game like Watch Dogs, right? We are like a superheroes from the game. Because we are living in smart houses with a lot of IoTs around us. We are walking in smart cities. Like, I don't know, I'm not sure about Cairo, but I'm pretty sure about Dubai, Singapore, and Washington, etc. It's totally smart cities. And of course, sometimes we have to visit the smart hospitals. But we are not in the game. It's a real life. And you can tell me that, whoa, Denis, I have known something smart, and it's not actual for me. It's probably actual for the blockbuster scenario or for the video games. It's not actual for me. I'm not affected by vulnerabilities and not affected by IoTs. But do you have I think you have something smart in your city, or you have something smart in your flat. For example, do you have the IP camera? Raise your hand if you have, or if you have seen that. Of course. Do you have smart coffee machine, for example? In our offices, we have some smart coffee machines. Or have you seen the smart coffee machine? So I think probably you are vulnerable. Because, for example, already you can start to search something like using the Shodan or Senses. You can find some cameras, IP cameras, that open it for everyone. And if you open the Shodan right now, you will see a lot of relevant videos from the industry objects, probably from personal apartments, from the houses, and probably you see some videos from the IoT babysitter. There's a special device for babies. This is terrible. Or the story from my case, when I walk through my office, I've seen that my coffee machine shares the Wi-Fi. That's interesting. When I start to intercept the traffic between my mobile application and this coffee machine, I've seen the password of my Wi-Fi point in plain text. So you can tell me that it's not serious, it's just vulnerability in coffee machine and that's it. But what is just provide any interesting scenario from your side. What the attacker can do with a vulnerable smart coffee machine. Yeah, he could compromise other parts of your network. The first scenario. The second scenario. Any ideas? Using as a botnet. Trivial. Interesting scenario. And other ideas? Yeah. The most interesting case. For example, if it's a targeted attacks against famous person, like politician person or superstar, rock star, for example, like a Cooper, this is interesting scenario, the targeted attack. If the person is affected or if he has the diabetes, what you can do with that? You can add some additional portions of sugar, and this person was affected. And it's a little bit dangerous for his health, okay? So it's still actual, but of course it's full blockbuster scenarios. But if you want to change the world, you know the sentence, if you want to change the world, if you want to save the world, start from yourself. So I've started from myself. I have no any coffee machines, but I have some devices in my local home network. The router that provided by my ISP provider during the contract, so I've not buy this router, I just get it from my internet provider, and Chinese DVR system. I don't know what the name of this DVR, but it works, it's okay. So, and I've started from the router. And my first impressions was that interface of the router is pretty simple. There are only one input field for the user. And I've tried to input JavaScript like cross-site scripting, and that's it. It's vulnerable. What? One field, and it's affected by vulnerability. Okay, I'm just inspired to look inside of the router. And I've seen that it has something interesting like a ping feature. Each router, probably you can check your router, it has the ping ability to, you can check your settings after you set up something. You can use this system utility ping through the web interface to check your internet connection. But you can also, if it's affected, you can also add some additional parameters, like the additional part of command. Like, please ping these resources and please extract the password from ATC password. So it was affected by operating system command injection. So you can extract the sensitive data. When I extract this data, I've seen that there's a login name of my provider. Okay. I asked them, like, guys, probably you have the backdoors, not the backdoors, you have some credentials for your support purposes there. They told me, not. It's not ours. But it's your login name. Nope, no idea. Okay. It's not yours. But also, I was inspired by these vulnerabilities and I tried to make some reverse engineering of binaries inside. Of course, I've searched for the binary, the firmware, and I've seen on the website of my provider, I've seen the binary, extracted it. It's typical Linux system, embedded Linux system with BusyBox. And if you know what is BusyBox, it's special toolbox for embedded system. You can extract all binaries that are related to BusyBox toolset. But if you try to compare the MD5 of original binaries and MD5 of binaries of this firmware, you will see some difference in HTTP server. There's some kind of difference, different MD5. Interesting. The next stage, I've just extracted the strings from this binary. So probably modified binary, modified by, I don't know, by vendor. I've extracted, and I've seen the string anonymous. It's string missed in original binary. So I've tried to look deeper where the string is applied, and I've seen the function that it has the branch. If you input anonymous and the password, come in. If you input your credentials, come in. So this is a kind of, not a backdoor, but credential for support purposes. The second inspiration. Using these vulnerabilities that I've described before, you can extract the config file, the temporary config file, with a lot of credentials there. My credentials for internet accounts, my credentials for routers account, for web dashboard accounts, etc., etc., etc. And as vendor said, it's not a critical, because you have to have the privileges to extract the binary, to extract this config file. So it's not a serious. Okay, I agree. But part of this temporary file, config file, the part stored in JavaScript variable that available for authenticated user. So you can just open the dashboard. You don't need the login. You can extract this file from the web page. This is a serious, because I've checked this file and I found the credential with the login name of support. Again, I've asked the vendor, like, what is that? What is that? He asked me that, okay, it's just for supporting purposes. Thanks, Captain. But it's still the backdoor. And it's official. It's a vendor that's spread it around the world, his stuff, and he spread these routers during the contracts for internet connection. So a lot of users is affected. It's a short statistics how many users are affected in Russian only. So because it's the provider that's quite popular in Russia, that's it. Okay, let's look at another part of my home network. It's DVR system, digital video recording from China. And just to start, just to mention the vulnerability, you have the login form. You just switch, just change the login.html to dvr.html, and that's it. You can extract the video stream. Okay. But then, of course, you can find it. You can find the firmware. You can find the firmware using the non-official, official resources of the vendor. You can easily extract it without any encryption keys, without any obfuscation. You can extract the system, the file system, and then you can see the password, a non-encrypted password. And then you can try to scan for these credentials using the showdowns, and you will see that there are a lot of devices that are affected by this password. So this is an opportunity for the bad guys, for the botnets. And of course, I've tried to connect using these credentials to my DVR system, and it's okay. And using these credentials, you can extract all passwords of all users, of all systems, like web dashboard, video streams, backdoor accounts, that's it. So worldwide affected. A lot of stuff that's vulnerable, so the bad guys can build. That's a trivial thing for Chinese devices, for white labeled Chinese devices. Anyone using this vulnerable stuff could build a huge botnet like a Mirai. Of course, you heard about Mirai. But anyway, you can tell me that, Denis, it's a trivial situation with the current cybersecurity state of IoT, of customers' IoT, not for industrial IoT. But it's not so serious, I think. Okay, we have seen the Mirai, that's it. DDoS attacks, who cares, right? But I think we have something critical that we should protect firstly. And from this part of my presentation, I want to start with a hot topic. This is a smart medicine. And before I start this topic, I want to ask you the question about your ideas. What do you think? How many people die annually during the medical errors, during the doctor's mistake? How many people die annually during the doctor's mistake? What do you think? I will provide an answer, and if you agree with the answer, please raise your hand. 2 people in a year. 100 people in a year. You agree, yeah? 2 persons agree. 1,000 people in a month. In a month. More people agree with the numbers. 1,000 people in a year, annually. 100,000 people in a year. 100,000 people in a year. 300 100,000 people in a year. You agree? Yeah? You're almost alone, 2 persons. You're right. According to the public information of medical reports, almost 300,000 people die annually during the doctor's mistake. And this is a second reason of death in the United States only. Not worldwide, in the United States only. So try to imagine the numbers worldwide. And the sad news that these numbers always increasing. And low qualification of doctors is not the main reason for that. The main reason is the wrong diagnostic procedures. The second reason of death is wrong therapeutical procedures. And only third reason is a doctor's mistake, is a doctor's qualification. And it becomes possible because our internet, our medicine connected to the internet. And 3 years ago, we have predicted that medical infrastructure will be a tidbit for attackers, for the cybercrime. And this year is not an exception. We have seen a lot of breaches, medical breaches and medical leakages. We have seen how they try to encrypt the medical infrastructure to waiting for the ransom payment. How they try to exfiltrate the medical data from the medical networks. How to compromise the medical infrastructure to extract the sensitive data about sensitive patients, like for superstars, rock stars like a Cooper, and politician persons. So there are a lot of news. You've seen that. And we've seen too. And it becomes because our medicine is connected. What I mean connected medicine? The huge machines like MRI machines, CT machines, diagnostic big huge machines connected to the networks, to the classic TCP/IP networks. Or if they're old school machines, they're connected to the PCs that connected to the internet. Or connected to the TCP/IP networks. And they're connected to the PAX systems. PAX system is something like a NAS storages in your home router. NAS, network attached storages. You know what is that. And this is something like NAS, but for medical pictures. It's for DICOM image, special image for medical purposes. And DICOM is a special protocol to transmit the medical data between medical devices. So if you try to open the Shodan, of course, devices are connected to the internet, most of them. And if you try to prove the idea, you can open the Shodan. You can just use this sentence, and you will see that there are a lot of interesting stuff. And Egypt, in the rating, in the last place, but still in the rating. Almost 1,000 medical devices available for everyone. This is the set. And also you can use the classic request for the Shodan, for the census, to extract medical information and extract sensitive information about medical facilities, like topology of the network. And you can use it for targeted attacks. For example, you can bring your laptop to the facility, you can plug it to the Wi-Fi, and already you have some topology, what kind of PCs is most interesting for you, what kind of PCs you should to bypass, and you can extract, you can organize, it's useful information to organize the targeted attack. But it's not necessary to bring your laptop anymore and connect it to Wi-Fi. You can use the special web applications with the classic web vulnerabilities. It's medical applications for doctors. If you are a doctor, you don't need to be at medical facility to proceed your patient. You just can open your browser, you can input your login name and the password, and you can make some diagnostic procedures using the DICOM image there. And there are lots of interesting web applications available for everyone, and you can find it using the internet, using the Shodan. And for example, this is a vulnerable web application. Where is the vulnerability? Your idea. You don't need to be a web hacker to find this vulnerability. Where is the login name? Where is the password? This is Asterix is a special web portal with the medical data for the doctors. If you're a doctor, you can tap the login button, and that's it. You're inside of your medical infrastructure with a lot of data about patients. You can proceed the pictures, the personal medical data. You can proceed the DICOM images. You can extract it. you can change it. And if you're an attacker, you can steal it. You can spoof this data for wrong diagnostic, right? And this is an example of the pictures of real patients. And this is terrible. But the most terrible thing is that doctors don't understand the landscape, doesn't care about cybersecurity. For example, I did some penetration tests, some security assessment for the medical facility, and I found that a lot of computers, the doctors' computers, has no non-relevant software for business, for medical business. For example, Half-Life engine. No, it's serious. It's just a scan of one doctor's computer. And we asked the doctor, for what do you need it? Half-Life. I have a lunch. I need to play during the lunch. Okay. And there was, from these questions, from the findings, I tried to create some thread landscape, the entry point that actual for each medical applications right now. The most actual for that, for medical facilities. And I tried to extract from RIPE database, extract all IPs for all organizations that have keywords, clinic, medical, surgery, healthcare, in their name of organization. I extract all IPs, then I start the scanning procedure, like 2 weeks of scan. Then I proceed all scanning reports and build the statistics about opened ports for medical organization. And of course, there are a lot of trivial devices and trivial services, like HTTP server, DNS, mail server, but this is a tip of iceberg. The most interesting part is in bottom. There are a lot of non-trivial ports that I've tried to tag and to extract banners from the ports and create a statistic. What is behind the ports? And I've seen that there's something embedded. A lot of device marks like embedded devices. And what is that? A lot of interesting stuff like building automation systems, printers, kettles, cameras. So let's look, what is that? And first of all, there are building automation system, a lot of building automation system in hospitals. And if you don't know what is that, it's just like a router, the big and huge router for the building. It communicates, it collects all system in the building, like TCP IP network, light system, conditioner system, water system in one big machine. It's like a router for this kind of technologies. And I've tried to scan this networks, the medical networks for these protocols of building management system, and I've seen that nobody cares about patch management because all of these findings of this software was outdated with the critical exploits available for everyone. One entry point for attacker. The next interesting entry point is printers, classic printers without any end-to authentication. So you can open the printer, you can see the printing pool, you can extract sensitive documents, you can print something using the printer, or the interesting scenario, if the printer has the Wi-Fi, you can use the printer for lateral moving through the medical network. Or another example, the Strange Port 2000. It's quite popular in the United States. Quite popular. In healthcare organization, surgery organization, clinic organization. Do you have any idea what is behind this port? No idea. It's a kettle, yeah. No, it's just a kettle. If you look, what is that? You will see that kettle has public vulnerabilities, public available information that allows you to connect using the Bluetooth, 6.0 password, then you can extract Wi-Fi access point password in plain text. Strange. Or look on these devices. These are special portable medical devices. We call it electroretinograph. Electroretinograph, yeah. I don't know what is that, but I think it's something like for to scan the retina of the patient, and then to proceed some diagnosis for the patient. But it has public vulnerability too. For example, you can find the firmware of this electroretinograph. Then you can extract the firmware, and you will see the binary that's responsible for scanning. And if you are a doctor, what you are doing? You scan the retina, then you scan the special barcode on the patient's paper history, and then this device prepared the PDF wrapper for you, based on the diagnostic and based on the personal information that extracted from the barcode. But if we look deeper, if we find some functions that precede the barcode, we will see that anyone can build the barcode with a special sentence, like with the command, and you can create the malicious PDF wrapper. It's a little bit difficult to exploit, but anyway, it's a possible scenario. Or look at these devices. MQTT protocol. Yeah, we will discuss it later. MQTT protocol. What is MQTT? Do you know what is that? Not? This is a protocol for communication between IoT to IoT. You don't need a person to communicate. For example, you can create this scenario. Smart bulb and smart blood pressure. You can create a scenario. Blood pressure is my pressure is too low, please turn off the light. For example. And we found that there are a lot of spirometers, it's correct, yes, spirometers, blood pressures, and even a lot of refrigerators in morgues. No idea for what they are connected to the internet, but according to Shodan, it is. And okay, this is a possible entry point at the threat landscape for attacker. How to get in. But the next stage is what already happens in the medical networks right now, nowadays. And I've started using the expertise of the Kaspersky. I've started to dig into the statistics about the malware that already in active mode in the medical facilities. And this is a typical statistics for the medical organization, medical and pharmaceutical. I will explain for what I've divided these two terms. And almost 10% of users' computers was affected by the malware. This is a general numbers. Or most of 30% of computers was affected by special hack tools. You know what is that? It's a classic interpreter, classic tools that are available for everyone. It means 2 points, probably. First point, that medical organization understand the problem and they invest money for the red teaming or pen testers to make some security assessment, use this tool. Or 2 point, someone using the GitHub or using the Metasploit create the malware and affect the medical organization. And I think the second one is more actual. Or this is a general statistic related to the general malware, like banking trojans, something trivial, no APTs, and we can see that medical organization is still interesting, like 70% of the organization was affected by the malware. This is sad statistics because if you try to map the stats only using the country, using the map, we will see that it looks like this one. I think the main priority for attackers is Philippines, Venezuela, Thailand, and what it looks like. I just tried to Google and use the Google, and I've seen that it depends on how many budgets the country spends for cybersecurity. Philippines, no budget for cybersecurity, a lot of incidents. That's trivial statistic. Or, if you look in the same situation, but with pharmaceutical organizations, it was a medical organization, then it's pharmaceutical, it will be a little bit different situation. And it depends on GDP of the country, and how many pills and how many drugs this country prepared for the export. And you will see that Bangladesh, Indonesia, Morocco, this is the top of the countries who is the main exporter worldwide for the pills. It means that for attacker, the pharmaceutical organization is still interesting point, is a tidbit. Why? Because pharmaceutical, it means pills, it means a lot of intellectual properties, it means, a lot of scandals around sports and doping. So it's an interesting point for them. And we have tried to look for targeted attacks, not for trivial malware, but for targeted attacks. And we have seen that there exist against the medical organization. The attackers, Chinese-speaking attackers, use the vulnerable web servers to penetrate into the pharmaceutical, not medical, pharmaceutical organizations, just to observe. Observe for what? First of all, they are looking for intellectual properties. For drugs, for pills. They have business plans to release new products, and that's interesting for them. And if you look what kind of malware it was a plugix. It was related to China-speaking actors. You can see the wrapper in the internet about this malware. But anyway, they used this payload to penetrate into the medical network targetedly. So, after this information, I hope you have offensive security researchers, defensive security researchers. What is your recommendation for defenders? Let's think not like offensive expert, but like defensive expert. What's the main recommendation for defenders, for system administrators in medical facility? What we have to do with this information? Provide any recommendations from your side, guys. Any ideas? What we have to do with that? Exactly. Isolation. Isolation of the medical devices. Isolation of critical data in separate networks. Good one. Read the standards. Yep. Correct. So, the conclusion, read the standards, use the best practices. Use the NIST standards, but FDA, you can use the FDA recommendations. There are a lot of interesting and useful recommendations for the medical organization if you want to protect your data. Any other ideas? Security awareness. Amazing. That's my favorite. No policies. Don't mention the policies. Security awareness. To educate people. Educate people. No, it's better to use not the policies, but probably it's better to use the education using the real techniques. Like trainings, like meetups, like BSides for medical organizations, etc. But anyway, almost you were right, guys. You were right. This is a basic recommendations for the organizations. But anyway, it's a lot of trivial things like please use IDS, IPS, another S, antiviruses. So use it because it's available for everyone, even in open source. But if somebody asked me what's your recommendation after that, I think the honeypots. Honeypots is the most interesting stuff. It's really interesting things that we could use right now. Additional layer for existing protection system. Honeypots and threat intelligence. And when I mean threat intelligence, I mean not like not only intelligence reports from organizations, it could be offensive threat intelligence too. But I think it's another part of another presentation. But anyway, I've decided to create some platform for the security researchers who really love honeypots and who really love to scan the internet for the interesting and vulnerable devices, to exchange create the indicators of compromise for them, and exchange these reports between each other. So it's just like kind of, why not? Let's try to do that. Let's try to build a community, not a community, but probably the solution, not a solution, but probably the platform. Who cares? Don't want any terms, but anyway. You can register there using the invite code, and after that, I don't know when and how, but I send you the message like invitation to get in this platform. But anyway, we have a lot of technologies like Machine learning, big data, artificial intelligence, other buzzwords, but sometimes it doesn't work. Because, let me show you the video.
Because
we still have the vulnerability in our brains. We still have a vulnerability in our DNA. But where is the patch for this vulnerability? How to mitigate it? Using security awareness, using the education. That's why we are here, right? Thank you.